These were the films that got chased out of theaters, burned in protests, and ripped from shelves. But the more they were banned, the more they were worshipped. From blood-soaked revenge flicks to obscene cult ceremonies, these drive-in shockers were condemned by censors and hailed by outlaws. These 12 banned films were not just watched, they were preached. Number 12. Necromantic, 1987. In a decade soaked with slashers and gore, Necromantic went a step beyond and straight into cinematic hell. Banned in its home country of Germany and countless others, this taboo-destroying shocker was never meant to reach audiences. Yet, somehow, it did. What followed was not outrage, but underground obsession. Bootleg VHS copies were passed like sacred relics among horror disciples. The plot follows a man who collects corpses for a cleaning service and brings one home for romantic purposes with his girlfriend. It's more than a horror film. It's a plunge into existential rot with real autopsy footage, unsimulated scenes, and a finale that makes most horror films feel like bedtime stories. No distributor would touch it. Most festivals wouldn't screen it. But for horror's black sheep and outlaw artists, Necromantic became a totem of resistance. A symbol that film could go anywhere, even the places society never wanted to see. In recent years, it's been reevaluated not just as a provocation, but as a tragic love story for the damned. Even Criterion collectors now whisper its name. It's still banned in some countries, but in midnight screenings and underground clubs, Necromantic plays like a forbidden hymn. You don't just watch it, you survive it. Number 11. Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS. 1975. In a realm where exploitation reigned supreme, Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS was too much even for grindhouse audiences. Banned in multiple countries and rejected by mainstream theaters, this Nazi-exploitation shocker was declared obscene by censors worldwide. But to drive-in rebels, it was pure transgressive gospel. Ilsa is a sadistic commandant of a Nazi prison camp who performs grotesque experiments on prisoners. The film combines war themes with graphic torture, nudity, and revenge, all set to a fever dream of pulp horror. The character of Ilsa was based loosely on real-life war criminals, giving the movie an unsettling edge that blurred history and horror. Despite its censorship nightmare, the film spawned sequels and built a die-hard cult. Feminist scholars later dissected it. Critics reviled it, and Quentin Tarantino has repeatedly nodded to it in his work. Its star, Diane Thorne, became a cult icon, her image immortalized in grindhouse poster art. The film was passed around in battered reels, screened at secret shows, and discussed in hushed tones. To this day, it still hasn't had an uncut theatrical release in several countries. For many, it was the ultimate forbidden fruit, a shocker that challenged censorship head-on and dared audiences to look away. Number 9. Faces of Death, 1978. It was sold as real death, real horror. Faces of Death exploded into drive-ins and VHS shelves with a marketing hook that blurred the line between documentary and nightmare. But that same hook got it banned in multiple countries, including the UK, New Zealand, and Australia. The film stitched together a disturbing montage of staged and actual death footage, from executions and animal slaughter to staged autopsies and car crashes. For some, it was pure shock cinema. For others, it was psychological torture. School kids dared each other to watch it. Parents called for bans. Religious groups protested it as satanic. Most of the scenes were faked, but the presentation was so effective that authorities took it seriously. In the UK, it was seized under the Obscene Publications Act and remained banned for decades. In the US, it circulated as a taboo VHS, worn out and whispered about. Yet, despite or because of its notoriety, Faces of Death became ritual viewing, late-night parties, underground clubs, college dorm rites of passage. It wasn't just a film, it was an initiation. It spawned sequels, copycats, and endless debate. Whether exploitative or artistic, Faces of Death earned its place in the dark pantheon of banned cinema. It remains one of the most talked-about shockers of all time. Number 8. Thriller, A Cruel Picture, 1973. Sweden is not known for grindhouse cinema, but Thriller, A Cruel Picture, broke every rule. It told the story of a mute girl forced into prostitution who trains as a killer and takes revenge with a shotgun. And it told it without mercy. The film includes real scenes of sex inserted from porn films, real eye mutilation with a corpse, and some of the slowest, most painful death scenes in exploitation history. It was immediately banned in Sweden and many other countries for its explicit violence and hardcore content. Even censored versions faced backlash. But this wasn't just shock for shock's sake. Thriller combined art house grit with grindhouse rage. Its unique pacing, operatic slow-motion gun battles, and tragic backstory gave it a poetic edge. And cult audiences noticed. Quentin Tarantino would later cite it as a major influence on Kill Bill. The eye-patch-wearing Avenger and slow-mo shotgun justice came straight from this film. Over time, its uncut version became a grail for genre fans. Originally condemned and buried, Thriller now stands as a defining piece of rape revenge cinema, unflinching, uncompromising, and unforgettable. Number 7. The Devils. 1971. No film on this list ignited more fire than Ken Russell's The Devils. Based on the true story of demonic possession, hysteria, and political betrayal in 17th century France, this was not just a horror film, it was a war on institutions. Starring Oliver Reed as a defiant priest and Vanessa Redgrave as a sexually obsessed nun, the film was drenched in blasphemy, torture, and surreal imagery. It featured orgies with crucifixes, a charred corpse rising in ecstasy, and a brutal church-led execution. The result? Instant bans. The UK demanded 150 cuts. The US released a heavily trimmed version. In some countries, it never played at all. Even the Vatican condemned it. But in underground circles, it was canon. Critics debated it. Filmmakers revered it. In film schools and bootleg VHS swaps, The Devils became a sacred relic of cinematic rebellion. It's still officially unreleased in its full form, forbidden art. Number 6. Cannibal Holocaust, 1980. When Cannibal Holocaust arrived, it didn't just cross lines. It obliterated them. Banned in over 50 countries, seized by customs agents, and declared obscene in multiple courtrooms, it remains one of the most notorious banned films in history. But for drive-in cultists, it became gospel. Director Ruggero Deodato framed the story as a recovered documentary shot by missing filmmakers in the Amazon. The footage captured scenes of native rituals, violence, animal killings, and what looked disturbingly like real murder. Italian authorities believed it was a snuff film. Deodato was arrested and had to prove in court that his actors were alive. The film's animal cruelty and sexual violence provoked outrage, and still does. But beneath the horror lies a critique of media exploitation and colonial cruelty. As the faux documentary format blurred, reality critics and censors panicked. But horror diehards saw brilliance in the chaos. Despite decades of censorship, Cannibal Holocaust kept returning through bootlegs, limited releases, and critical reappraisals. Quentin Tarantino praised it. Eli Roth referenced it. Academics debated its ethics. It's ugly, it's raw, and to some, it's sacred. Watching it is still considered a trial. Surviving it feels like initiation. It's the grindhouse crucifixion of cinema. Number 5. Pink Flamingos, 1972. John Waters didn't make movies. He made revolutions in bad taste. And Pink Flamingos was his nuclear bomb. Banned for obscenity across the United States and overseas, this filthy underground hit made Divine a legend and turned filth into faith. The film follows two rival families battling for the title of filthiest people alive. That's not metaphor. The acts include bestiality, cannibalism, and a real dog feces-eating finale that still shocks today. Drive-in theaters wouldn't touch it. Cities banned it outright. Police raided screenings. Even art house cinemas hesitated. But where society saw depravity, others saw freedom. The midnight movie crowd embraced it like holy scripture. Divine's charisma, Waters' anarchic direction, and the film's DIY punk attitude created a new cinema of rebellion. It toured underground circuits for years. College campuses, secret screenings, midnight marathons. Fans knew every line, every shock, every howl. Pink Flamingos didn't just push boundaries, it desecrated them and built a shrine out of the ashes. To this day, it's a pilgrimage for the profane. Number 4. Last House on the Left. 1972. Wes Craven's directorial debut wasn't just banned, it was feared. Last House on the Left blurred the line between horror and reality and became one of the most reviled and revered films in drive-in history. It tells the story of two girls abducted by escaped convicts and the brutal revenge that follows. Inspired by Ingmar Bergman's The Virgin Spring, Craven added a raw, unpolished cruelty that felt too real for comfort. The result? Censorship boards cut entire sequences, some banned it outright. Others demanded re-edits that gutted the story. Audiences left screaming. Projectionists quit. But horror fans came in droves. Bootlegs of the uncut version circulated like contraband. The tagline said it best. To avoid fainting, keep repeating it's only a movie. Critics split down the middle. Roger Ebert praised it. Others called it moral filth. But the cult was born. Over time, the film became a sacred relic of the revenge genre. It inspired generations of horror directors and provoked endless debate on art versus exploitation. It's raw, it's punishing, it's unforgettable. For the cult faithful, it's one of the most powerful banned shockers ever made. Number 2, I Spit on Your Grave, 1978. There are few films more controversial than I Spit on Your Grave. Banned in the UK for over 20 years and condemned as misogynistic filth by critics and feminists alike, it also became one of the most infamous cult revenge thrillers in drive-in history. The film follows a woman writer who is gang-raped and left for dead, then meticulously hunts down each of her attackers. What set it apart wasn't just the violence, but the cold, unflinching realism with which it depicted both trauma and vengeance. Critics like Roger Ebert gave it scathing reviews. Censors refused to classify it. Moral panic followed in its wake, but horror fans defended it fiercely. Some called it a feminist empowerment tale cloaked in grindhouse skin. Others saw it as pure catharsis. Uncut versions were traded like war trophies. Secret screenings kept the legend alive. Later reappraisals recognized the raw sincerity of director Meir Zarchi, whose own friend's assault had inspired the film. Whether viewed as exploitative or empowering, I Spit on Your Grave turned bans into badges. For many, it remains a controversial cornerstone of revenge cinema. Number 1, Blood Feast, 1963. This is the film that invented the gore movie. Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Feast wasn't just banned. It was blamed for creating an entire subgenre of splatter cinema. And its reputation only grew with every censor that tried to kill it. The plot is simple. A crazed caterer murders women in Miami to prepare a sacrificial feast for an ancient Egyptian goddess. But what audiences weren't ready for was the on-screen violence. Tongues ripped out, brains exposed, limbs dismembered, all in garish technicolor. In the early 60s, this was blasphemy. The MPAA wouldn't touch it. Local authorities tried to shut it down. Some theaters refused to show it. Others were threatened with lawsuits or protests, but drive-ins devoured it. Blood Feast became a midnight sensation. Audiences screamed, fainted, and came back for more. Lewis had tapped into something primal. The film was crude but fearless. It was banned in numerous states, but made its money back tenfold on shock alone. And it opened the floodgates for decades of gore. Today, Blood Feast is considered sacred text among horror purists, the first true American gore film. And still, 60 years later, it holds the power to disturb. These films weren't just banned, they were reborn. Every censor's scissors only made the cult grow stronger. From outlaw reels to sacred midnight rites, these shockers live on. If you survived this list, hit like and subscribe. And tell us, which banned drive-in film left a scar on you?